Hello, I'm Jennifer Parker, and this is a story about how appearances can be deceiving, especially when it comes to family and wealth. For a decade, I led a modest life while secretly building a real estate empire. Meanwhile, my brother and his wife took a very different path. Growing up, Tom and I couldn't have been more different. He sought after status, flashy cars, designer clothes, extravagant vacations, while I focused on investing my money, living frugally, and preparing for the future. Our parents never took sides, but were concerned for both of us for different reasons. "Jen, you need to enjoy life more," my mom would say, watching me clip coupons, despite my substantial income. "You're too young to live like you're already retired." On the other hand, Tom married Sarah, who shared his love for luxury. Their wedding was more extravagant than most people's homes, complete with ice sculptures and a celebrity performer. I wore a simple dress and contributed to their registry. Sarah's reaction? She barely concealed her disdain. "Oh, how practical," she remarked, holding up the coffee maker I gifted them. "We were hoping for the limited edition gold-plated version, but I suppose this will do." That set the tone for our relationship. While they traded in cars every couple of years and vacationed in exotic locales, I drove my trusty 10-year-old Toyota and focused on real estate. Every family gathering seemed to turn into a display of their latest purchases and an opportunity to mock my cheap lifestyle. But what they didn't know was that while they were spending, I was building. Each property I acquired was carefully chosen, renovated, and rented out. By the time I turned 35, my real estate portfolio was valued at over $20 million, something my family had no clue about. I kept it strictly under wraps. Then came last month's family dinner, the night everything changed. As usual, Tom and Sarah showed up late, making a dramatic entrance. "Sorry we're late," Sarah said, waving a brand new designer handbag. "We were finalizing papers for our dream home. You know, that stunning Victorian mansion on Maple Avenue?" I nearly choked on my drink. I knew exactly which house they were referring to. It was mine. "It's perfect," Tom grinned. 5 bedrooms, a pool, a garden. Of course, we had to outbid several other buyers. But hey, what's money for if not to get what you want? Mom and Dad were beaming with pride. "That's wonderful, son. When do you move in?" "Next month," Sarah answered, then turned to me with a mocking grin. "Of course, some people might not understand the value of investing in quality real estate. Right, Jennifer? Still living in that tiny apartment?" I kept quiet, knowing the property management company had handled the bidding process under strict confidentiality. Tom and Sarah had no clue they'd been negotiating with my company. "You know, Jennifer," Sarah continued, clearly enjoying herself, "you really should start thinking about your future. Live like a poor person, die like one." The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Even my parents seemed embarrassed by her comment. "I mean," Sarah pushed on, "look at you, cheap clothes, that ancient car, that tiny apartment. Don't you want more from life? Tom and I believe in living our best life now. That's why we deserve this beautiful house." I smiled faintly, reaching into my purse. "About that house." Before I could go further, Sarah interrupted again. "Oh, don't worry, you can visit. Just be careful with the floors. We're installing Italian marble." And that was when I decided it was time. I pulled out a folder containing the property deed, rental agreements, and my company's paperwork. "Actually," I said calmly, "we might want to discuss your rental terms." The room went still as I placed the documents on the table. Sarah's perfectly painted lips froze in surprise as she stared at the deed with my company's name on it. I don't understand," Tom stammered, grabbing the papers. "This has to be a mistake. We worked with Wellington Real Estate Group." "Yes," I said with a smile, handing him my business card. "Wellington Real Estate Group, President and CEO, Jennifer Parker. I started the company 8 years ago. That tiny apartment you love to mock? It's one of 60 properties I own in the city." Sarah's face turned a ghostly shade, her designer lipstick now standing out starkly against her pale skin. But that's impossible. You're poor, you shop at discount stores." I couldn't help but laugh quietly. "Being wealthy doesn't mean you have to waste money, Sarah. While you and Tom were buying new luxury cars every couple of years, I was investing in apartment buildings. While you were splurging on luxury handbags, I was building my portfolio of commercial properties." Dad, who had been quietly looking over the documents, muttered under his breath, "20 million in assets. Jen, why didn't you ever share this with us?" he asked, visibly stunned. "Because," I replied softly, I wanted to achieve success without the need for attention. No boasting, no flaunting, just sound investments and dedication. The same lessons you and Mom taught us, Dad. I simply applied them in a way that was different from Tom. Mom's eyes glistened, though I couldn't tell if it was from pride or disbelief. Tom, meanwhile, was desperately searching on his phone, likely trying to confirm details about Wellington Real Estate Group. His face became more ashen with every article he read about the company's success and its elusive CEO who rarely made public appearances. This rental agreement, he stammered, finally looking up. We signed a rental contract, not a purchase one? That's right, I responded, keeping my voice steady. The house isn't up for sale. It's a luxury rental property, clearly outlined in your paperwork. Did you miss the fine print? Sarah jumped up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is a scam. You're trying to ruin everything. You made a deposit, I said calmly. Yes, for the first month's rent and security deposit. Standard procedure. The payment cleared this morning. By the way, thank you for that. The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. Mom was the first to break it, laughing unexpectedly. All those times you mocked her for being frugal, she said. I mean, Sarah, turns out my daughter was quietly building an empire. Maybe she should have bought a few designer bags so it was more obvious. Sarah slumped back into her seat, her previously perfect posture crumbling. But what about our plans? The renovations? The marble floors? She sputtered. Any renovations would need approval from the property owner, I said, motioning to myself, as specified in Section 8 of your lease agreement. However, I'm open to discussing reasonable upgrades. Tom stayed silent for several minutes, still absorbed in the documents. Finally, he spoke, his voice tinged with regret. All these years, you let us ridicule you, call you cheap, look down on you. Why? I took a moment before answering. Because I learned early on, Tom, that true wealth isn't about showing it off. It's about security, freedom, and making thoughtful decisions. You and Sarah were so focused on looking wealthy that you never bothered to actually build wealth. So what happens now? Sarah asked, her voice now small and uncertain. Are you going to evict us? Get your revenge? I shook my head. No, Sarah, I don't believe in embarrassing family. You signed a fair lease, and as long as you honor the terms, you're welcome to stay. I hope you'll be happy in the house. I paused, pulling out another document. Oh, and I've made the changes to the lease that you requested. As for the gold-plated fixtures and imported marble floors, those will be declined, but I've approved some reasonable upgrades to the kitchen. The rest of dinner was marked by a heavy silence. Sarah barely touched her food, and Tom couldn't seem to stop glancing at me. As they left, Sarah paused at the door. I'm sorry, Jennifer, for everything I said. You're not who I thought you were. No, I agreed, I'm not, but maybe that's a lesson worth learning. Success isn't about wearing designer labels. Over the following months, everything changed. Tom and Sarah moved into the house, and with them came a newfound humility. They enrolled in financial management courses, and Sarah even asked me to teach her about investing. Although she still doesn't understand why I shop at discount stores, she's learning. Mom and Dad? They couldn't be prouder, though Dad still occasionally mutters, 20 million, my quiet little girl. These days, when I visit Tom and Sarah's house, technically, my house, there's no more talk of gold-plated fixtures or marble floors. Instead, Sarah proudly shows me how much she's saving by cooking at home, and Tom seeks my advice before making major purchases. Just last week, I received an invitation to speak at a women's business conference. The topic? Stealth wealth, building success without showing off. I've already decided to use Sarah's collection of designer handbags as a cautionary tale about depreciating assets. As I sit here writing from my modest apartment, overlooking the growing empire I built, I recall something my first investment mentor told me. If you have to tell people you're successful, you probably aren't. She was right. Sometimes, the most satisfying revenge isn't about retaliation, it's about proving you've already won, quietly, completely, while others were too busy trying to impress people to notice. And as for those Italian marble floors Sarah wanted? Let's just say the hardwood floors have far more character, and will give a much better return on investment. Thanks for watching, see you next time, stay amazed.